things are about to get very bumpy so that you can see how it handles. So,
You don't know.
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very bumpy side street of a random road out here in Homestead, Florida, because today I'm going to be taking you guys out for a spin in the lifted Cayenne. So if you guys have been keeping up with the project and with the videos, you might know that I have a 6-speed 957 08 Cayenne. This car is honestly one of the greatest cars I have ever purchased. I decided that for some strange reason I wanted to try to get into the Safari Porsche world. And let me tell you something, it's absolutely worth getting into because this world is insane. I wanted something a little bit more unique though. Now, I didn't have the budget to Safari a 911, not yet at least, so I figured, well, let me just go ahead and Safari a Cayenne. Going into Cayennes though, pretty much all of them are all the same color, they're all automatic, and there are very few manual Cayennes made. But to my knowledge, the only manual Cayenne that I would have been able to get was a GTS, until I did some more digging and some more searching, and I realized that the base model Cayenne also came to the US in a manual transmission. So I realized that I could save myself potentially 50 grand by buying myself a regular Cayenne manual with a simple little VR6 that could, and see what happens. And that's exactly what I did. A buddy of mine, he is a great dealer here in Miami. His name is SMIT Auto Imports, Christian. He does a lot of transporting as well. He's transported all my cars and sells tons of little niche vehicles like this. He told me, hey, I have a Cayenne that's coming in, and it happens to be manual. I'm not sure if you would be interested in it. And well, one thing led to another, and now we are here. So shout out to him for selling me the car at a great deal. But yeah, if you are thinking about getting a manual Cayenne, Oh, did my car just die mid-recording? Hang on, let's see what's happening here. I think I just ran out of gas. Just be frugal. This is so funny. So technically, now that I know, I can definitely only get around 350 miles out of a tank with the lift kit and the fact that I have no exhaust on. Definitely got to look into that. But yeah, this car is going to die again for sure. I'm literally turning the car off, turning it on, and I'm 1,000 feet away. I guess we can say that complaint number one, and the only complaint that I have about this car, is the gas level sender does not read accurately. Either way, I'm gonna have to replace the fuel level sender and arguably maybe the fuel pump while I'm in there. But still, parts are pretty cheap for this car. That's why I highly recommend it. It's probably the cheapest Porsche to own because it's all parts bin Touareg. It's a V6 from the Touareg, and so everything underneath it is pretty cheap. The brakes, for example, that's my next thing to address on this car. Discs and pads from Techstar on WorldPack at a wholesale level are $270. Now, moving on to the comfort level. How is it living with one of these things, lifted on all terrains with the muffler deleted? It's not bad. There's no crazy amount of drone in here. You get more drone, as a matter of fact, not from the exhaust, but from the actual turbulence and wind noise that you get from the tires. I noticed that on the highway. I thought there was something wrong with the car, but I realized that as soon as I get behind someone going north of 65, all the noise goes away and it's just exhaust noise. And at that point, yeah, you might have a little bit of drone, but also I chopped off the muffler, so I can't really complain. That totally did that to myself. The polyurethane bushings that do come on the custom control arms that Eurowise sent me, they do squeak quite a bit. I know that some people have gotten rid of the squeaking and creaking by adding cerulean grease. Honestly, after taking it off-road a couple times and breaking them in more, the squeaking has gone down a lot, but this side does tend to squeak more than the passenger side. I really wouldn't have any other complaints about this car. This car has been incredibly amazing to own throughout the entire experience. And right now I'm just, even though I ran out of gas completely, I mean, all my temps are normal, my gas tank is full, I'm able to go through the power band with no problem, and I'm back on the road like nothing happened. So it really shows how well built these cars are. Porsche did announce that they added the Cayenne to the Porsche Classic parts bin, that they are manufacturing parts for older Cayennes again, which means that new parts for these used cars are still going to be available 10 years down the line, which is great. These cars also have a good amount of history. Not only is it one of the Porsches that helped save the brand at the time, it also had a lot of significance in motorsports. Now, the 955, which is the first generation Cayenne, I don't really know too many successful stories with the 955 as far as motorsports are concerned. But with the 957, they came out with the Trans-Siberia, right? And the Trans-Siberia Rally was this whole thing where they take it under incredibly gruesome conditions on a very long rally, where when they competed with their first Trans-Siberia, I think the regulations only allowed for them to have updated safety equipment, but it had to be pretty much factory specifications for the car. So they entered the Trans-Siberia into the rally in 2007 to showcase the capabilities of the Cayenne, won their class at that year. Then the following year in 2008, they went ahead and took not just first place, they took first through sixth place with the Trans-Siberia. So yeah, that only adds value to the fact that the Cayenne is an overall incredibly important vehicle for the Porsche brand. Now, the Trans-Siberia is a limited run car, so there's only so many that you can buy and collect. And once everybody buys and collects their own, people build tributes, and those can hold some value. But the rarer Cayennes, whether they're PTS or they're manual in this case, I feel will continue to rise in value. I mean, one of the last manual Cayennes sold for 19 grand, and it was just shy of 100,000 miles. That's something that is incredibly impressive for a car from 2008, which, when you think of it, would be probably at the lowest point of depreciation by now. But anyways, after the history lesson, let's talk about the driving experience. Again, I already spoke about how comfortable it is to be with this car and to live with it with the lift kit and all that, but what people forget is that this is, although a lifted vehicle and a lifted SUV, it's still a Porsche, and the steering is very responsive. The shifter, the way that it feels, the way the clutch feels, the way the brakes feel, they all communicate in a sensational way that makes even the most mundane and boring driving experiences, like out here in the middle of Homestead, Florida, fantastic. I'm having a blast. Right here, I downshifted into third, I blipped the throttle a little bit, given the gears are long, and then I can just rotate the vehicle effortlessly on all terrains and a lift, and I'm still cornering. Fantastic. It's just, these things are so good at what they do. Not to mention, I also have a sport mode that I'll go ahead and put it into right now, which makes the throttle a little bit more active. I'll turn off traction control just in case. And actually, as a matter of fact, in this little section, things are about to get very bumpy so that you can see how it handles. So, I myself just had quite the hop on my seat, but the car is perfectly fine. There's literally no other way to explain it other than you have to drive it to let you know just how good these cars are. And yes, that was very loud back there because I have my camera gear, so I'll check on that later. But it goes to show just how durable these things are. Thanks to the Eurowise control arms also, it's more beefed up, so it can handle it a little bit better. But this is still on the stock OEM suspension. The Eurowise lift kit is just a spacer that goes at the top hat. Nothing much more. Hopefully we have some okay lighting. So you see right there, there's gonna be a red spacer. That is the subframe spacer that goes to go ahead and correct the CV joints to adjust for the changes in telemetry. And then, like I said, the custom control arms are right here. Now, you have a massive spacer from Eurowise that goes on top of the stock suspension that helps boost the car up by 3 inches. Then you have the custom tubular control arms with this solid monoball here and the polyurethane bushings. Then in the rear, you have the same sort of setup. Kind of difficult to see, but you can see it in there. Let me see if you can see that. Nah, I have the shadow there in the way. Sort of see it there, but whatever. Then on the inside, the interior was pretty rough when I got it. That was torn up, so I went ahead and got that replaced with leather, as opposed to the typical vinyl that goes on the dashboard. That's what usually goes on the armrest, but I had that done in leather with nice padding. Then I went ahead and updated the headliner and fixed it. No more staples, no more headliner cheese falling everywhere. There's the other camera. And then keys still on the left. That's another one of my favorite parts of that. And then, oh, what's this? What? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention, Fuel Files leather goods now available in the store. Feel free to go ahead and click the link so you can get one of these very fancy Brazilian leather tags for any vehicle, really. Anyways, here we have it. This is the Cayenne in all of its glory, probably looking its best or worst, depending on how you like your cars. I personally think that this type of car has to be as disgusting as possible at all times. Obviously, when I go sell it, it's gonna get nice and detailed with Rivas. But since I owned it, I mean, I've literally had no problems with it. Obviously, we ran out of gas together. That was fun. But this has been the greatest car I've ever owned, the greatest amount of money I've ever spent on a car, because I have never had such a return of happiness on a car like this than with this one. Shamu has definitely put a smile on my face every single time I've driven it. I've only gotten it stuck once, and it was my fault on the trails because I had traction control on and I did not have the central diff locked. Once I locked the diff and turned traction off, it went out of its hole with zero issues. And it's honestly been an amazing ownership experience. I highly advise anybody that if you're thinking about doing one of these builds, do it. Get one of these before they get way too expensive, because they are few and far in between, specifically manuals. And this is definitely gonna be one of the hardest cars for me to sell. I miss my Dyna car that I had, but this is definitely gonna be one of the cars that hurts the most to let go of. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.